After 12 years and 2 brain injuries, this is how I found joy in the midst of suffering. First, it's important to know the difference between joy and happiness, with happiness being dependent on events and temporary, while joy is independent from events and longer lasting. After exhausting everything Western society has to offer, it's clear to me that most of the information they provide is warped and diluted, and intentionally prevents us from ever actually reaching the ultimate truth. Lao Tzu, an ancient philosopher, says if you're depressed, you're living in the past. If you're anxious, you're living in the future. And you're at peace if you're living in the present. But what if your present is filled with anguish and suffering? We are comprised of body, mind, and soul. After both concussions, there was a time in which the body and mind didn't work, so my being resided mainly in my soul. To realize that this is the only aspect of us that can withstand disaster is critical, yet it's the component that we seem to most ignore about ourselves. When we work out, we have the ability to shift our focus and our energy into our body, where we can visualize our muscles contracting, and we're less consumed with the troubles of our mind. Same thing applies when we shift our focus to our mind when we're thinking or studying, and we're less consumed with the troubles of our body. The same technique can be applied when we are trying to withstand physical and mental turmoil by shifting our energy and focus into our soul. However, if we stopped here, we still wouldn't completely succeed at acquiring joy in the midst of suffering. The only way I found this to work is to know to whom your soul belongs. In my journey, this was answered through interactive experience. After 12 years of searching for the answer, it's undeniable that my soul belongs to the only one who died and actually was resurrected, with there being historical evidence and artifacts supporting their divinity, who is no other than Jesus Christ himself, the catalyst, the foundation, the core of all. Omitting him from the equation would render it ineffective. And if you disagree, I encourage you to question these things yourself. Now to apply everything together. First, by aligning ourselves in the present moment, restraining ourselves from drifting into the future or the past. But we cannot simply stay in the present due to the suffering. So while in the present, we must shift our energy, being, and focus into our soul. Once we are there, we elevate our soul by connecting it to Christ, to whom it belongs. And there, one finds peace and joy even in the midst of suffering. But just like anything, this requires a lot of practice. This is the only way I have found to be effective in acquiring joy in suffering.